Welcome to the Axecast. This is the Monday, April 29th, 2024 edition of the Axecast. I'm your host, Caleb Cohn. I'm here with my co-host, Eric Parmenter. I'm going to introduce Eric. It's Eric Parmenter, a.k.a. The Sniper, a.k.a. EP11, a.k.a. The Birdie King. Eric, how we doing?
I'm doing good. How about you?
Doing good.
Doing good. Glad to be back.
And then now we've got Luke Enemark, a.k.a. The Genius, a.k.a. Hot Takes Machine, a.k.a. The Grind Son. What's up, Luke?
How's it going? Good to be back.
All right, guys.
AKA Dr. Edmark.
a.k.a. Dr. Enemark. Been too long. Last time we spoke was All-Star Weekend or right around All-Star Weekend. And I think since then it's kind of been it was a competitive end to the Grizzlies season. This is a very belated end to the Grizzlies season, I might add. The playoffs first round is about halfway done. But I think there was a lot of things to talk about. Very optimistic for next season, I think, is kind of the general consensus of Grizz Nation right now. So let's just go ahead and get into it. I think obviously we've talked about like the injuries, especially with Ja and Bane was out for a long time. So really the big takeaway was Gigi Jackson, the 19-year-old Gigi Jackson, the 45th overall pick in the draft. So much to say about Gigi Jackson. So you guys take the floor.
Yeah, I've been super high on Gigi since the day that we drafted him. But even myself, I could not imagine, by the end of the season, how much growth he's made already. You already knew like the talent was there and like you knew that was in there somewhere, but the level of maturity and he's added to his game has been pretty crazy. Like if you remember like way back at the beginning of the season, like some of his shot selections were just terrible. Like he turned into Dylan Brooks where if he's getting the ball, he is shooting. He is not passing. No matter where he is in the court, he'll take a bunch of ill-advised shots and wasn't really a team player to start with, but you could just see that stint he had with the hustle. And then when he started getting opportunities with the Grizzlies, like he could still score. He's always been able to score, but like taking better shots and then actually getting his teammates involved in being a playmaker and like driving hard to the rim and making the right read, whether that's trying to finish or make the right pass. So I've been really impressed with him. And he's 20 years old?
19.
Or is he still 19?
He was 18. He was 18 like the first half of the season and then turned 19.
Okay. I couldn't remember if it was 18 to 19 or 19 to 20. Yeah, so it's just crazy. Like when we have these young guys that like show flashes, usually like we're talking about 21-year-olds, 22-year-olds. It's like, oh, okay, we could project out 5 years. Like they should be pretty good. But like this kid's 19. And like some of the things he was able to do this year and some of like I know like it's cherry pick stats will be like, oh, he's the youngest player since Kevin Durant to drop like 30 in a game or something. Like some of that is cherry picked, but like it was pretty impressive to see a 19-year-old do what he did. And I think he's deserved the opportunity to at least be able to compete for a legitimate role on our team next year. I know we can get into later like some of the decisions we'll have to make on a roster because we do have a lot of different things we could do with our wing rotation, I guess. But he deserves to be in the mix and he deserves to get a shot. And I feel like it's going to be one of those things where he's going to do everything he can to make Taylor Jenkins have to play him. And so, yeah, super impressed with Gigi. So glad I bought stock early on him.
Yeah, I wish I had bought the stock as early as you. I definitely love the value pick when we got him for number 45 with how young he is, the potential. But like I would have been shocked if you told me that he would have gotten as much of playing time as he did, which is of course was from injuries. It wouldn't have happened otherwise. But the role that he was able to take up and the production that he had was really shocking, I think. And like also you can look at like when he starts, like every time he gets, like Eric said, he's putting up his little shot, and like it doesn't matter like how far he is, he's going up. But like now, like he's got better shot selection, and I think like as the season went on, he started driving it a lot more, and that was really nice to see. And he's definitely improved. And to think like now he's got a full off season, he's still only 19. It's kind of like it makes me feel much more comfortable. Like we can get into this later, like you said, also Eric, like roster decisions and stuff like that. But it makes me feel like more comfortable not drafting like a wing player with number 7, and like we need a center, so it makes it's kind of a luxury. And I agree. I think he definitely is deserving of a spot next year, and we don't have a final roster yet, but I think that he should be like he's put himself in the conversation for like key building blocks for the future, and I'm really looking forward to what he can do next season.
Yeah, for sure. I like what you guys were saying about, I think it was Luke saying like putting the ball on the floor and driving a lot more. I can't remember if it was like one of the last games against the Lakers or the Nuggets, but like he has this like, oh, he makes this move, like goes over the defender to like a dunk. I'm like, dude, that's like a veteran NBA move to like swim move over somebody. Man, yeah, and of course there is like all those stats out there about youngest player since Kevin Durant to drop all these points, whatever. But man, I mean, you're just asking yourself, can Gigi make this a big 4 instead of a big 3? You know, like that's like the ceiling, right? Is Gigi is now he's definitely solidified himself as like somebody that definitely can contribute to this roster moving forward. He's definitely done that, like just off of potential alone. But like, can he be another potential all-star along Ja, Bane, and Jaren? Like that is definitely in the realm of possibility. Jaren was on Vernon and said that Gigi was way better at his current age than Jaren was at that age. So like it's just crazy to see. Like he should be playing AAU right now. Like, so I think Jaren tweeted that. So that's just crazy. He's always like, he is like my prototypical NBA player that I love. Just like these wings that can score at all 3 levels, long, lanky, can defend if they really bought in. So I'm interested to see the type of work that he puts in this offseason. Really been excited, like listening to all those exit interviews about all the guys talking about all the work they're going to be putting in. So hope he gets pulled into those and a lot of progress can be made.
Before we move on, I'll just say he also is like the most likable person on earth. Like his interviews are always electric, and it's awesome just like seeing he's like a breath of fresh air on this team. Like we still are really young, but it just gives me flashes to like the original group with this next gen Grizz, where like we had all these young guys that were like, especially Jaren, like when he was super young and like goofing around with D'Anthony Melton and stuff. I was getting flashbacks to that, and it's like just a breath of air to have like that youth back on our team a little bit to an extent.
Yeah,
100%.
Yeah, the closing thing that I had for Gigi was, so NBA rookie leading scorers this season. Number 1 was Victor Wembanyama. He was the number 1 overall pick. Seems to be a very generational talent. Number 2 is Brandon Miller, number 2 overall pick. Number 3 was Chet Holmgren, who this is his redshirt rookie year, really his sophomore year. He was the number 2 pick in the 2022 draft. And the number 4 was Gigi Jackson, who is 19 years old and was the 45th pick in this past year's draft. So just a steal of a pick. I mean, highway robbery. King Kleinman strikes again. So, yeah. Anything else you guys had on Gigi? Cool. So another next thing that I had was the most anticipated return of Brandon Clark. I think we were all very nervous, especially dealing with an Achilles injury, which is known to just derive an athlete of their athleticism, and somebody who relies on their athleticism so much, like Brandon Clark, who is an above the rim guy or gets that pogo stick floater in the lane, stuff like that. I'm sure we were all very nervous about his return, but he looked really great. And they only gave him like I think 6 or 7 games, something like that. They let him play like here and there, in like that last third of the season, last fourth of the season. But he looked great. I mean, he looked like he could still contribute. What was y'all's thoughts on it?
Luke, you want to go?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, I guess like I've never had an Achilles injury myself, so I can't like say this like as a primary source, but like, I definitely was worried about him not being able to keep his athleticism. Definitely, like what you're saying, Caleb has like his like it's what he came in and he was so good at, and so yes, it's concerning. But then I think he really proved that like thought wrong, and he looked great when he came back, and didn't like there wasn't as long as you'd expect after missing the amount of time that he did to have like some type of an adjustment period, but he still looked good. He still got his little floater thing. And like after all this time, you kind of like start like almost forgetting about BC because like we have to go like a full year without him. And then now it was like really nice to see him get back out there. And now you start thinking about him again, and I know he can be a good contributor next season. And like, especially because it kind of seems to me like there's like a lot of like new like guards, like wingish players, like that are decent, that have a good chance of like contributing that we have, but like we could use more bigs. So we're going to need him. So it was definitely nice to see BC come back. And it would I don't want to say surprising. It was a pleasant surprise to see how well he was able to do so quick.
Yeah, I agree. I set the bar pretty low with my expectations for him, not because I didn't believe in him, but like it's just such a brutal injury, and like that's his asset is being a pogo stick and like having that athleticism to like do those weird like quick jump floaters or like get up for a rebound and like, get above the rim. And so I just didn't know what to expect. But he surpassed all my expectations for him. I know it's a small sample size, but he just looked like he was being BC. That's all you could ask for him. Is like he knows his role and just having those hustle plays, and he still had that little floater he likes to get to, and that's his bread and butter. So it was just good to see him out there having fun. And if we get our team healthy back next year, he'll be a very important part of our team. And I think some people maybe won't forget it, but like it's easy to just kind of forget how important Brandon Clark was to our team when we were playing in those playoff series against the Timberwolves and then going up against the Warriors. Like he's a very integral part of our team. And when we're at full strength, especially with the state of our center position right now, we're going to need him more than ever. So it was good to see him get a nice little run and maybe get some confidence going into the offseason so that he's not having to start from ground zero next year.
Yeah, for sure. I like what you were saying, Eric, about like that series against the Timberwolves, because I can't remember which games, but like he bailed us out a lot of times when, Ja's getting clamped by freaking Jaden McDaniels. And, when playoffs come around and the team takes away your best player or takes away something from their game, those role players become more emphasized. And we know that Brandon Clark can be one of those role players that delivers for you come playoff time. So, yeah, he's very essential for what we're going to be doing, hopefully this time next year. I thought he wasn't like as above the rim just yet. He like had a few dunks, but I think I usually like give it a year. The Achilles is like almost like a 2-year injury from like a lot of what other people were saying. It's like, yeah, you can get on the court within a year or like at a year, but like you really don't feel like yourself until almost 2 years after or a year and a half after. So I think there's still potential for him to be like, for sure, like catching bodies on lobs and stuff like that. So that was really cool.
Yeah, and that's why I was like excited that like he looked that good. At least he wasn't fully back with his athleticism, but like I think I was just scarred with like Justice Winslow in the past or Chandler Parsons, where they come back from injuries and they just look broken, and like they just try to force it and they just look so like out of place out there. So it was nice to see him. Like he didn't look like he didn't belong out there. Was he probably at his best form? No, but he showed flashes of being Brandon Clark, and so that's what I was excited about.
For sure. And then I had a pretty interesting question. Healthy Brandon Clark, healthy Santi Aldama, who are you starting at the 4 next season?
I think like I guess you have to like see Jenkins would have an advantage over us because he would see them in like practices and everything. But like for me, like I would say Aldama right now because of like he's had the more recent experience. But like assuming Clark is 100%, then I think you just give Aldama like an intermission part, and then like you can get Clark back in. So I guess my answer is I trust Clark more because of the playoff series success, but I think I would start with Aldama and then integrate Clark.
Yeah, this is a weird, like for me as I'm thinking about this question, like I'm wondering if that's even going to be I have like two things. First, like if it's going to be John, Desmond Bain, and Marcus Smart, and then it could be Jaren and we add a center, or I guess we can not add a center and then put Jaren at the 5, and then it's between those two for the 4 spot. But if we were assuming that, just because we don't have a center as of now with what we have, I'd probably lean Santi just because BC like always brings a nice boost off the bench. And Santi is kind of more hit or miss, which I think is more affordable with our starting unit because we have so many guys that we know are going to, like John, Jaren, and Dez, and even Marcus Smart can contribute on offense occasionally. Like, I feel like having Santi out there, and if he has a game where, you know, he doesn't have his stuff, like there's still other guys that can help contribute, but you do get those random Santi games where he's just drilling threes for no reason and he's dunking on people and he's doing those like finicky European passes and all that stuff, and he gets in his bag. So I feel like, yeah. So I feel like that would work a little better on our starting unit just because you don't need that every game, but it's really nice when you have it. Whereas BC, I feel like he's a lot more consistent and reliable in bringing that energy off the bench that we need with our second unit, and I'd preferred him to be helping run our second unit, especially since we don't have like a Tyus Jones, who also was like that bench solidifier. So I guess that's where I would go with that. But I also just don't know with the center position how our starting lineup would turn out in that aspect of things. But
well, that's actually a perfect segue because our next topic was going to be about Scottie Pippen Jr., who I think really embraced that Tyus Jones-esque role for us at the end of the season, where I feel like every game that I watched from Scottie Pippen, it was a new career high. I mean, he's like the hardest working guy out there on the floor, diving for loose balls, giving his effort, like both ends of the court. What were y'all's thoughts on Scottie Pippen?
I loved it. He, like you said, it felt like every game he started showing more and more. And he's just a hooper. And that's what you need. He reads the floor well and he hustles, and he's a little streaky with the shot, but he gets hot. And like when he gets hot, he's hot, and he's dropping like 20. He had like multiple like 25-point games, maybe even had a 30. I don't remember. Maybe it was like 28. But he can get hot with that. But then he's also just a great passer. And like I love his burst of speed and getting to the rim. Like that was one of my favorite things about Tyus Jones was like his change of pace, just being able to drive and go get a layup. Like that was like what prime Mike Conley used to do for us. And you see kind of flashes of that where he could just get a defender on his side and go beat him to the rack and steal a layup. Just things like that. So he was really impactful. And I think he's going to be our backup point guard. Like I think he played that well that he deserves that role. Maybe I'm wrong, but he played awesome. And I think it would be a mistake to not give him that opportunity because of, I mean, I just can imagine like him playing with a lot more higher caliber players when we are healthy as a team, like how much that could help our team. Because, you know, he wasn't playing with the best teammates per se, but he was still able to be impactful and get them involved and get his own too. So I'm excited to see what year 2 of Scottie Pippen can bring.
Yeah, I agree. Like, I want to start off by saying, like, I think in no way does he like replace all that Tyus Jones was able to do. Like, I think Tyus is like definitely, we've had a lot of like backup point guards in like the Grizz history that I've really liked, but I think Tyus may have been the best one. I really was a big fan of his. But like then again, I think we have definitely found something with Scottie Pippen. Like definitely like that speed you can't teach. And that's like maybe one of his best assets, I think. And like he's also a great decision maker. So and the hustle too, like the Pete called it like the play of the year. I forget which game, and he like dove, got the steal, and then like made a little pass to get a dunk. So that was awesome. And I think like that's like the takeaways we have to make from this season are like these random guys we find that like get time to develop when nobody else is healthy, and then become like contributors for next year. And I think like Scottie Pippen is one of the big exhibits of that. So I agree. I think he's earned his backup point guard spot. I definitely think he's earned it over Derrick Rose, who he was also injured, but I really, for the time he played, I wasn't the biggest fan of his. So, and I'm like not really a big Tigers guy, so I don't like have any like loyalty to him, I guess. So I don't know. I think
you can't bring back Derrick. I feel like you can't bring back Derrick Rose. He couldn't play.
Yeah, I didn't.
Did you hear what he said at the media days?
Yeah, they want to come back.
Yeah.
Yeah, he basically said that they told him he's coming back, but
he can't play. He can't play an 82-game season, man. His knees are just done.
No, he can't. Yeah.
So I don't know.
I also think there's going to be some roster shakeup this summer. I think some guys are going to be gone, unfortunately. But so I think, I mean, that's the only way he could stay around. And him saying that he is staying around, it doesn't make sense on paper right now unless a couple of guys are gone. So we'll see. But
let's transition to that. So some guys that we think may not be around next year. Well, I guess you can start with who you do think will stay. I think Vince Williams can stay. I was so going to say, like, before the last 10, 15 games of the season, I was going to say get LaRavia out of here. But he kind of lit it up the last 10, 15 games. But I still think he can move on from LaRavia. I'm sorry. I don't know. I just don't see – there's not enough ball to go around. Like, when it comes down to it, okay, he's not getting more shots when it's Ja, Bane, Jaren. He's not taking away from their shots. You'd rather probably have Gigi take more shots and probably like Marcus Smart. So,
yeah.
I mean, where are the shots going to come from? So I would be okay with if they moved on from LaRavia. What about you? I mean, they moved on from Roddy. They cut Roddy. I had more faith in Roddy than LaRavia.
Me too.
So, I mean, what do y'all think?
It's a weird situation because, like you said, it was a no-doubter get rid of him for a while, but then the last 10, 15 games, he started playing really well. And then it also, at least my opinion, it seems like he's actually like really close with a lot of the teammates. Like you always see Desmond Bain like hyping him up on social media, and the guys all like seem to have his back. So I feel like we're gonna end up keeping him. And I guess he deserves that chance. He did play well down the stretch. But I mean, how much does that mean? It was kind of like the dog days of the NBA, the last 10, 15 games where some of the teams are just kind of mailing it in and trying to secure their health going into the playoffs, or the other teams are just fighting to get better picks in the lottery. So I guess you can make that argument, but I'm not trying to take away what he did because he did have some impressive performances. But if it were up to me, I'd probably still move on from him. But I have a feeling we're going to keep him because, I mean, we still have guys like Conchar and Zaire Williams. We're doing this again every year. I feel like we're talking about Conchar and Zaire. We still have both of them. Yuta just retired from basketball, so he's not on our team anymore. Yeah, and then we still have a deal. We have to decide if we're keeping Luke Kennard, which I think would be a grave, grave mistake if we moved on from him. But those are kind of the guys like the wing position, I guess. And then Lamar Stevens, who I really like. But I don't know at this point with the emergence of Gigi Jackson, like I just don't know if there's a roster spot for him there. But I personally think we're going to move on from Santi.
Yeah.
I think he's the one that you can extract some assets from. Like he's valuable. Like he has enough film on tape, and he has enough good games where I feel like the piece that you're going to have to be willing to give up if you're going to want to go trade for a center, or at least get some assets to help you make the move down the line. I don't know whether we're going to get a center via the draft or via free agency or via trade, but I think that Santi's going to have to be the guy to go. It's like him or Kennard. Like those are like the matching salaries and the value that's there for other teams, really. Teams aren't going to trade for Conchar, most likely, or for Laravia or for Zaire based off of like what they've seen so far. Those are more of like projections, I guess. But Kennard and Aldama have enough. Kennard especially has a lot of reputation of being a great shooter and very helpful. But Santi, I think he's played well most of his time in Memphis. He's had some streaks where he's bad, but that's my prediction. I guess my take is that he's going to be the guy that's chopped off first this offseason. Thoughts?
Yeah. I guess first about Laravia, I kind of look at it from like a buy low and sell high like point of view. I think like it's definitely possible that at the end of the season there he did turn a corner and like became a much better player. But I also, the larger part of me thinks that was just like a hot streak, and like teams probably, if they noticed it, like this is the time to move on from Laravia. It sounds mean to say like I don't believe in him, but I don't really believe in Laravia. Like keep maintaining that consistency. I think outside of that, he's had like just awful shooting like his entire like NBA career. He's looked okay in the hustle, but I think if we have to choose some people, Laravia is like definitely like one of my number one besides Derrick Rose. If anybody wants Derrick Rose, for the other part I kind of wanted to talk about was like Zaire. I think like since his rookie season, he's just gone down in value and like hasn't stopped. And like for that reason, I think like it's worthwhile to keep him around unless like his salary is like something you just absolutely need to match for. Like you're trading him just for his salary and you need that to get a trade done. But like if you're actually trading him for his value as an NBA player, like I think that it wouldn't make much sense to do that this offseason. Like maybe we could give him some more time to like prove that he's good before moving on from him. But I will say also, I don't think he will ever like. I've kind of lost my hope for Zaire's like the ability to like get over the hump and become a quality NBA player. I feel like he's never going to really put it together, but I guess we'll see. And then from what you were saying at the end there, Eric, I think it would be really awful to trade either one of like Laravia or Kennard, but like then again, if we're gonna go and trade for someone with a significant like salary, we might have to do it because we can't. I don't think we're gonna get. I know we're not gonna get rid of one of the big three guys. Another guy like I think maybe we could is Marcus Smart, but then I think that would be I don't see them doing that just because they just went out and got him.
You need defense too.
Yeah, we need like
You need him.
I don't think they're gonna get rid of Marcus Smart.
Yeah.
So like then like if we have to do this, then somebody has to be traded, right? So it's like not. It's sad to think about, but like I also think we really need our Luke's shooting because I feel like there's sometimes we go through stretches where like just nobody's making anything, and like Luke Kennard's the only guy we can reliably trust. But Santi is also one of my favorite. Okay, maybe not one of my favorite. He's a player I really like, so I would be really sad to see him go. I think he's not someone who I've lost my faith in yet. So I'm on Santi's support team, but I pretty much through all this, the only people I've said I'm willing to trade is Laravia and like Derrick Rose. So maybe that's not realistic, but
yeah, I still like Santi too. He has had some questionable moments in games, but I still like him. I still think he could add value to our team. I guess I'm just saying, like, looking at our roster and saying, like, if our end goal is to get a center to help us better, like, if I'm another team, like, now if this was 2K and I could just fleece a team, I won't throw in Santi. But I feel like other teams need some sort of value from the Grizzlies back in return to make sort of deal. And I feel like he would have to be – it's like him or Brandon Clark or Luke Kennard, I guess, or would be the ones that we'd have to be willing to move off of, unfortunately. But who knows?
It would be like almost cruel to trade Brandon Clark after he just like spent all his time like trying to come back, and then we just trade him immediately. But
I know.
Yeah. So with Zaire, I think I've had the most Zaire stock. I've held the most Zaire stock. But, dude, what really sucks is all, like, media days and, like, coming in from the start of this season, all we heard was Zaire hype, dude. All we heard was Zaire's got his confidence and he's, like, grown and he looks so good and he's going to take this step this year. And it could not have been further from the truth, dude. Like literally just complete flop. I'm like, I'm not gonna listen to any of you guys. Like when all you guys are hyping, like in the media, when they're all hyping up, or the players are like, dude, he looks different. He looks different. Like no, he actually, yeah, different, worse in a bad way. Yeah, he looks like a worse basketball player. They did that like every offseason with Jaren. For like 4 straight off seasons, Jaren grew 2 inches and gained half the muscle. So I'm tired of hearing it. But yeah, unfortunately, I am also okay with moving on from Zaire. There's been the hesitancy. Just finished his 3rd season because he was the 10th overall pick. We drafted him. Kleiman probably doesn't want to give up on him, but I think we've seen enough. He's just not productive in the half court. The only thing that he can do is catch lobs, and I guess a solid defender, and I want it for him, but I'm okay with moving on from Zaire. I am also okay with moving on from Laravia. Like pretty much just echoing what you guys were saying. Yeah, it was the last 10 games that he was kind of balling out, but yeah, I don't know. I'm okay with moving on from Laravia. Vince Williams, I think you can keep Vince Williams because he's like the scrappy junkyard dog that if you look at basically any finals winning team, they have a player, at least one of those type players. So not saying Vince Williams will be a key to a finals run, but he could be. So then Lamar Stevens. Sure, I mean, yeah. I mean, I've heard he's good in the locker room. So I mean, if he's good in the locker room, sure. I'm not sold on his production on the court. So he looked good, and then he also just like, eh. So I don't know, but yeah, everybody raves about Lamar Stevens. So if he's good enough in the locker room, then yeah, we can keep him around. And then who else? Santee. So yeah, the thing with Santee is, yeah, I guess I'd also be okay with moving on from Santee because what you need is size and rebounding. And Santee does not rebound equivalent for his size and height. Like you would expect more rebounds from a 7-footer, but he just kind of doesn't really do that, at least to what a 7-footer would do. So, and yeah, and like Eric was saying, he also has nights where he just like doesn't miss from 3, and he looks like he's the best player on the court. And then he also just looks like he should be playing back in Spain on other nights. So, I would also be okay with moving on from Santee if it is getting more size, like a center in return, like you were saying, Eric. And then we should definitely keep Kennard because, like you were saying, Luke, the half-court offense is probably the biggest worry for me come playoff time. So, and with Kennard that he will help the half-court offense. So, I think those are pretty much all like the fringe players with the roster. So there's a couple. Like,
the only one.
What were you saying?
What?
I was just gonna say there's like a couple other like fringe guys, but like, sorry, we're not building around Jack White. So yeah, we don't have to spend time.
The one we didn't touch on was John Conchar. And the only thing I'll say about John Conchar is that unless in this offseason he is trapped in a dungeon where he has no escape, and the only way that he gets fed food and drink via a little hole in the wall, and the only thing he does every day of his life is shoot threes. That's the only way I want to keep him, is if he's trapped in a dungeon every day for the offseason and he has no escape and all he does is shoot threes. That's the only way I want to keep John Conchar, because yes, he has scrappy, fun games where he's doing stuff, getting rebounds and getting in the mix on defense and blocking people's shots. But I cannot stand to watch him shoot 16% from 3 all season. And so unless he's dedicating his life to the 3-point line this offseason, I'm done with Conchar. That was a little harsh, but I had to throw that in there.
He got that block on Anthony Davis. So that just will live forever in Grizz fandom. That stuff on Anthony Davis in the playoffs.
I miss when Conchar was like the meme player, and now he's like an actual player.
Yeah. Wears 46 because he's twice as good as Jordan. Yeah. Yeah, I think I'd also be okay with moving on from Conchar because I think Vince Williams takes that role from you. And Vince Williams is that type of player, but a little bit better of a shooter. So
I didn't even talk about Williams. I really want to keep him.
You do?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's all like the fringe guys that we talked about. And did we miss anybody?
I don't think so.
I think so.
More Jack White, yes, but
Jack White.
Yeah, no, we're not going to spend any time talking about Jack White. I remember him from that Zion, RJ Barrett, Cam Reddish Duke team. I was like, he stinks in college. I was like, how is this man in the NBA? So, all right. moving on from the fringe players, Jaren started balling, man. Kind of took another step in his offensive game this year, like in that second half of the season when it was Ja was done for the year. They basically shut him down. He came back for a little bit, but they basically shut down Bane. So Jaren got to I think 66 games played, just enough to qualify for postseason awards. But unfortunately, he traded a step up in his offensive game for a step down in his defensive production. He's not going to make an all defensive team. All defensive teams have not come out this year yet, as of Monday, April 29th, but he's not going to make one of the all defensive teams. So that's going to be. What do you guys think? Is this concerning to go from DPOY to potentially not making an all defensive team? Are we worried or not?
I'm not worried about that with Jaren. It was such a weird year with rotating different guys and playing alongside him every night. So I'm not worried about defensively. I will say, on paper, yes, had a better offensive season, and I still will go to war for Jaren against all the Jaren haters out there on Twitter and just all people that are always trying to tell me that Jaren's awful. We need to trade him. I always defend him, but I will say he still needs to get better offensively. He with his balance, he needs to go to a dance class and just get balance and equilibrium on the court. Because he's just still it just still looks so awkward a lot of the times when he's trying to just do a simple drive in the lane or step to a three, or just still mow people over because he doesn't have control of his body. So that stuff is still there. He did show a lot more stuff in his bag of ways to score, which is great. I feel like this was a good season for him to do that, try to take more command, which I think will help next season. And so I'm not worried defensively. I'm not even really worried offensively. I think this was a step forward for Jaren offensively this season, but I still think he needs to figure out his balance and figure out body control and continue to just work on shooting. But it is a step forward, and I'm not concerned about defense because I just feel when you're the anchor of the defense and you're flanked by different guys every night, it's hard to know oh, I'm gonna have help over here so I could make a read and defend this part of the court, stuff like that. That's what made Jaren so good, is because he had the whole team with him basically the whole season last year, and he knew the other guys knew his rotations and he knew their rotations and he knew where to be, and they draw him towards Jaren and Jaren can go block them. So it was just a little weird. So I'm not worried about that, but I'll still defend Jaren. I always will. I love Jaren, but I just think he needs to go to ballerina class and get some balance.
I'm a big fan of all of your off-season training programs for the personalized to each player too. It's pretty good. I also am not worried. I think Jaren's definitely proved that he is a very high-level defensive player. And I'm happy to – I was happy to see – I think he did take a step forward in offense just because out of necessity. We got no one healthy. We just Jaren didn't even play a full 82 for sure by any means, but he definitely played way more than everyone else. So
yeah.
So we just got so much we don't have anything else. We got just give it to Jaren. We have to, and I think he improved, and I think most games, I think the possessions I'm most confident in is when they just give it to Jaren, and hopefully he can post up. But I also agree it's really not so graceful sometimes, and a lot of times I think he ends up just falling down and then going if he doesn't get a foul call. But I think that's not to say I think he definitely improved. From beginning of this year to the end, Jaren, I think, is a much better complete player. and that should also help us going into next year. I agree. I don't think he should be on a defensive team this year. But I feel like with some of the ways these voters vote, I don't know how you get selected for this, but like just the recency bias, like they don't even like watch the NBA and be like, okay, he won defensive player last year, I'll just vote for him this year. Because like I swear some of these like voting results are awful. But so I could see him making it through that way, but I don't think he deserves it. And like last thing, I think I would definitely trade like a decrease in Jaren, like just block numbers for like less foul trouble and availability during these games. Um, that's definitely, we all know it's been a huge problem past few years. So
Yeah. Looking at it right now, Jaren finished 24th in the league in scoring with 22.5 per game. And then I'm trying to find blocks here real quick. Wemby was just insane. I think it's just rigged if they give it to Rudy Gobert, Mr. Helpside, swat away the guard. Layup attempt. That's how he gets all of his blocks. He just, let me go swat the 6-footer because I'm 7 feet tall on help side. But like Wembanyama is like actually challenging defenders and stuff. Anyway, Wemby finished with 3.6 blocks, and then number 2 or per game, 3.6 per game, and then number 2 was Walker Kessler with 2.4. So like an 33% better. That's just crazy. And then Jaren, a dip in the numbers to 1.6. I believe he was at like 2.3 or 2.4 last year, something like that. But no, I mean, I see that point that you were saying, Luke, about I mean, if you're willing to trade away like Jaren on the court availability and an increase in his offensive production, I think you take that. So I liked what we saw from Jaren. Had that game winner in San Antonio. That was a really cool moment. Like got into the crowd after the game, saw his dad, stuff like that. And then had the like step back corner 3 in Milwaukee. That was just like, I can't believe a 7-footer,
awesome.
6'10" dude is doing this. So a lot of offensive, I guess, load was put on Jaren, and I think he delivered, for the most part. So I think you take that. And again, I think like not having Steve-O, it kind of reared its head on the defensive end. So I would agree with you guys. Wouldn't be too worried. Just kind of sucks because like I think you kind of expect like Jaren to be making all defensive teams from like here until he's end of his prime or whatever. So, but anyways, that was everything we had on Jaren. And then kind of like the last topic that I really had was just got to go get more size. You got to be able to rebound. Because we've seen this movie in the playoffs before, whether it was Kevon Looney grabbing 67 rebounds against us, or Anthony Davis having 30 in 30 games against us. So you got to get size, whether it's through the draft, whether it's through free agency, whether it's through a trade. So what do you guys want? Players, pick?
I've narrowed my list to 3 people, 2 of which are already in the NBA. In no particular order, Nick Claxton, Isaiah Hartenstein, and Donovan Clingham. Those are the 3 I'm looking at. Yep. I usually am not a fan of drafting someone in this situation just because I feel like we need to win now, but I think Clingham, I've seen enough of Clingham that I think that he could be very impactful for us. And I trust that we'll have Brandon Clark if things go awry. Maybe we add another veteran center to take a reserve or something, I'd be fine, maybe comfortable, I'd be fine picking Klingum, and I think that could work out. I enjoy watching him play. But I mean, what Isaiah Hartenstein's been doing for the Knicks, I don't know if they're ever going to like move on from him or what that asking price would be. He's been awesome for them. Like, he's just completely emerged and kicked Mitchell Robinson to the curb, and he's been amazing. And then I just love the Nick Claxton fit. I think Nick Claxton's my number one target just because he's like the perfect jaw fit. Like, he goes up and gets lobs and dunks. He's like a good screen and roller. He's just a brute force down there and can block shots and get boards. Like, I'd be fine with any of those, but I think Nick Claxton's the number one guy on my list. Again, it's like negotiating with the Brooklyn Nets is like talking to a brick wall. They're like Masai Ujiri and the Raptors. They're asking price for Mikal Bridges. Like, I don't even know what's going on in his head. But so I don't know how feasible that even is. I know like there's been a lot of rumors that he's not gonna be on the Nets next year, Claxton. So I'd love for us to at least make a run at him. I'd be open to other ideas. I'm curious to what you guys think, but out of the draft, Klingum's the only one that I think would be worth it because I don't think you waste that pick on anything other than center. So I think you either pick a center that you believe in that could play now, or you move off that pick for an established player in the league. But what's your guys' thoughts?
So I kind of think unless like we win the lottery and like are able to get like Sar, I probably would definitely I definitely would prefer to get a center with a trade. And I don't like really want to speculate like on which one NBA player we could get yet. Like I don't know about like availability and things like that, but I think like I wouldn't hate it, but I kind of wouldn't like it if we drafted Klingon. Like I think Chris Wallace gets just crucified for drafting UConn center in the lottery. And now it seems like Grizzlies fans are forgetting that. And I think like Klingon's just so like one-dimensional. And I guess it's fine if like that's the only thing you need. But I think this number 7 pick is or more is more valuable than that. Like I would. This is definitely greedy of me, but I want us to keep it and draft someone who's not Klingon. You know, I think like just the potential of players in that range, maybe it's, even with this draft being just awful from what I hear, I think like it's hard for me to like get over wasting a chance like that. And I don't want to use it on Klingon. If it was me, I wouldn't hate it, but because I know it's something we need. So I'm definitely looking for us to make more than one move this offseason and at least one for a center. Like that was what Kleiman was like kind of he didn't get into anything specific, but like he did say like we do need to get a big. So I would be shocked if we didn't make some move one way or another for that to happen. But I think they've learned their lesson on like trying to fill needs like that through just drafting. Like I think at the end of last season, Kleiman was talking about like now at this point it would be like quadrupling down on youth when he already was criticizing himself for tripling down. So I think that is going to be addressed like through trade. But what do you think, Caleb?
Yeah, pretty much had the same list because I mean, I guess that's who I've been listening to is Vernon, and he's really talked about Hartenstein and Claxton the same. And then Klingon would also be, I think he would be the only realistic player in the draft because if you draft somebody, they have to be able to contribute immediately. You know, we're done with, you know, a year, 2, maybe 3 years ago where like, you know, we can wait and, get these guys who are potential. Our window is coming. Our window's now. Our window's open to make these deep runs. We're still young, but like this team is primed to make deep playoff runs. So like this person has to contribute immediately. And if you think obviously they'll like do their homework with Klingon. Also, we don't know what pick the Grizzlies will have. Right now, the NBA lottery has not come out yet, so we have, I believe, the 7th best odds. So, unless I'm wrong, have the lottery odds come out?
Well, I think we do have 7th best odds.
We have the 7th best odds, but we don't know what pick we have yet.
Yeah.
So, like, we don't know what pick we have. And from a lot of the mock drafts that I've seen, Klingon wouldn't be there at 7. So
I saw an article today from Woj where he was like, don't be surprised if Klingon goes number 1. Like
number 1? Okay.
Yeah, I saw that shocked me, but like I saw that. I don't think that's gonna happen, but I saw him say that today.
I think that speaks to how bad this draft is. Let's keep in mind, this is supposed to be a historically awful draft.
Which, yeah, but I am intrigued by what Luke is saying, his point of view in that, like, maybe you try to do both, where you address your center need via trade, but you don't give up your pick. And you take a swing at someone with, like, say we're at 7. Like, just because, I mean, no matter how bad a draft can be, like, there's still going to be good NBA players that come out of this draft, and probably a few great NBA players. So maybe try to double dip and get a center via trade. But then if there's someone, maybe look into another good lottery pick and end up getting Sar, or maybe it's someone else that we're high on that we take a swing at. That is an interesting angle that I didn't really consider. For me, I was always thinking just you're either drafting a center or you're trading it, but who knows? That's what's so interesting about the lottery. Is like the Jaw year, we didn't know we were getting the number 2 pick and going to draft Jaw. Like we weren't even thinking about that, and then it just happened. And so I don't know. It'll be fun to see what happens. I think there's going to be a lot of chaos. I think there's going to be a lot of turnover with this roster, and I think Kleiman hinted at that multiple times that there's going to be some shakeups. I just hope that Luke Kennard is not a part of that. That's my number one concern.
Yeah, my thing with the double dipping is dividing your assets and then not nailing somebody that can contribute immediately. Like, you just really need one guy. I mean, preferably, I don't know if I guess they could go get 2 bigs, but like one of them has to be able to be good, and you just run a bigger risk dividing your assets.
My counter to that, like I see like the value in your point of view. Like I think if they end up doing like what I said, which I think is kind of like not realistic of me to ask them, like I feel like it's more likely they'll do what you're saying. And I think if they do what I say, like, and it goes poorly, everyone's gonna hate them for making such a mistake. But like you could also look at it like, what if they put everything into one guy and then that one guy ends up being like a fail, like that one doesn't work, and then like you only had that one guy, as opposed to like, well, if you get 2, like you have 2 chances. So maybe one will be bad, but the other one will be okay. So
yeah,
I don't know. I think
that's a fair point.
I think it's probably going to work out the way you're saying.
Yeah, no, that's a good point. But yeah, I had the same list: Claxton, Harkenstein, Klingon. I probably would put Klingon 2. And Claxton 1, Harkenstein 3, because Claxton is that lob finisher. Also, like, where's the Jaws? Where's the Jaw ones? Has been friends with him for a while, so that'd be cool. Yeah, I think that's it on who we were hoping for with bigs. Anything that you guys had on that? Anything else?
No, I just think it's going to be really exciting. I feel like this season wasn't all what we wanted, obviously, but there were some interesting developments that came out of the season, and I think like this could be a take a step back to take 2 steps forward type of offseason. Like it's not always that you could just punt an entire year with the amount of talent on our team because of all the injuries and be able to find like a Gigi Jackson and a Vince Williams and be able to load up on assets again, whether that's via the draft lottery or trading that pick to get a bona fide starter. So I think this is a really interesting opportunity for the Grizzlies to like capitalize on this. This is so like unprecedented, having a team this good that was the number 2 seed 2 years in a row, like just completely crumble because of injuries and like be able to be in this position to have a top 5 pick potentially to either use or trade to get another important asset. So I think it's going to be a really fun offseason, and I just can't wait to like get into next season already, just so people like, I feel like everyone already has forgotten about the Grizzlies and have like written them off and like still make all the jaw memes and like, you know, I just feel like we've gotten so much hate and like people just kind of kick the Grizzlies to the curb. So like I'm ready for this team to come back better than ever and just shut a lot of people up.
Yeah, definitely. I'm very optimistic. I'm looking forward to like this. It's gonna be a fun off season for sure. I think it's gonna be pretty intense with all the moves we make. So it's exciting.
Yeah. I think it's still a good time to be a Grizz fan. Still expecting deep playoff runs. But yeah, definitely no question season was marred by the injuries. I think we'd be remiss if we didn't mention Grizzlies set an NBA record, 33 players on an NBA roster, 51 different starting lineups, also an NBA record. I don't think I can name 20 of the 33 players, if I'm being honest. I definitely couldn't get to 25.
Yeah,
I don't think 25 is possible. I think I could pull 20-ish, but
I think
I don't know.
I guess I'll try to give it a shot.
We could like do a pool resource.
A collective shot at it. All right, I'll start writing.
Let me close the payroll. I was looking at the Grizzlies payroll. All right.
No cheating. I got my laptop up, but I'm just writing.
Okay. You
All right,
want to do like a circle?
Yeah, we can do a snake draft.
Okay.
Awesome. All right, I got Ja.
Luke?
I'll take Jaren.
Desmond Bain.
Okay. Kennard.
Mark Smart.
Bismack Biyombo.
Oh, that's it, dude. I would have not gotten that.
You should have saved that one.
Jerome Simpson? Was that his first name?
I don't know.
Something.
I know who you're talking.
Okay. All right, never mind. I'll just Lamar Stevens.
Okay. Does Steven Adams count?
Yeah.
Okay.
John Conchar.
Santi.
Zaire.
Aldama.
We just said something.
I just said Santi.
Oh, did you? Oh. What's his face? Let's go Scottie Pippen.
Okay. Laravia.
Roddy.
Trey Jameson.
That's a good one. Oh man. This is getting hard now. Jack White.
I don't think we've said Gigi Jackson yet.
Yeah, you're right.
No, we have not. Jordan Goodwin.
That was a good one. That was a good pull. I don't think we said Vince Williams.
No, I don't think so. I think Tillman's also should be good.
Dang, y'all getting all the good ones.
Did we say Brandon Clark?
No.
man.
What are we at?
Let me count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21.
Okay.
That's respectable so far.
All right.
I got one.
Scotty, golly. All right. Trey Jemison. What you know about a Trey Jemison half hook?
There's like Hawks announcers at one game where like we just have to foul Trey Jemison with like a flagrant to stop him.
I got to pass. I got to pass. Luke, you go.
I think I'm taking Derrick Rose if we haven't said him.
Oh, that's good.
Let's go. Oh, I got one. All right, I got one.
I have a guy. I don't remember, like Pereira. Is it like Mito Pereira or what?
Oh,
it's something Pereira. Something Pereira.
Yeah.
Matt Hurt. Give me Matt Hurt.
That's the guy I was picturing too, and I couldn't remember his name. I knew
he like had the behind his head jump shot.
Yeah.
It passed me for a round. I have to think of a new one.
Eric, you got one?
Let me think. We said Zaire, right? We said Zaire. Is Xavier Simpson? Is that his name? Xavier Simpson?
Oh, you're right.
That's right.
You're right.
Okay.
I think that's it.
That might be the last one I have. I need to think.
Simpson. Let me continue numbering here. 16, 17.
Oh, I have one. I've got one.
I think I have one, but I'm not sure.
I've got to pass. Sure. I've got to pass on mine. Luke, you go.
So did we cut Kenny Lofton during the season? Does that count?
That counts.
Okay. Kenny Lofton is, he's got to be one.
I wasn't thinking that, but yeah, that's right. Jacob Gilliard.
Oh.
Oh, Gilly. That's a good one. That's a good pull. Okay, so we got Lofton Jr., who's Jacob Gilliard. All right, we're at 27. Dude, we're only 6 away. We're only 6 away from the entire
roster. The problem is these 6 are the hardest.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's some other like Spanish guy or European guy. I just don't know.
I think I might be done, dude.
I can't think of any right now.
Jordan Goodwin, we had him. Xavier Simpson.
I think I might be tapped
out. It's funny that like Gigi Jackson was like our best player like down the stretch. Like in some of those games, like he was the most experienced player on the court.
I think I might have one, but I don't know if it counts. Like Victor Oladipo, I think, was technically on the roster after like some trade we made.
Yeah, but did he play? I think these are players that played.
Does he have to play?
I think these are players that played.
Okay. All right, never mind. Take that out.
I think that's all I got.
Yeah, that's all I got.
No shame in that.
We
got most of it.
Yeah. I bet we'll know them too when we see it.
I'm gonna pull up some of the ones we missed.
Yeah. Yeah, pull them up.
Josh Christopher.
He did not. Did Josh Christopher play for us?
I'm pretty sure he played like a game or two.
Okay.
Isaiah Todd for sure played. Chezi Metu played. Tosan Ivu Boumwam played. I remember him. Timmy Allen played.
Timmy Allen.
Wendell Gabriel played. And then DeJon Jarrell.
I would have maybe I could have got Timmy Allen, but I would not have gotten the rest of those.
I think I might have gotten Wayne Gabriel and Timmy Allen. I don't know.
I would have maybe gotten Timmy Allen.
I would have had to
no shot.
Think about
I do not remember Isaiah Todd.
Me neither.
I do not remember that. Okay. So that was how many players suited up for the Memphis Grizzlies this year. And then really kind of like the last big highlight that we had was Marc Gasol's retirement night. I thought job super well done by the Grizzlies and the franchise. Had that Marc Gasol Made in Memphis documentary, or Memphis Made documentary that aired like the week of. Marc had flew into town the week before, and he's just going around everywhere, getting to meet everybody and, see some old faces. Went to St. Jude and Le Bonheur again. That was super cool. Do you guys what were some of the bright spots of the whole Marc Gasol retirement?
It just made me remember how much I missed Marc Gasol and how much the core four, it's hard to choose people who I I loved them all as a kid. But Marc Gasol is just such a great dude, and he cared so much about the Grizzlies and winning, and his contributions to St. Jude and all that he did for the city, and he's just such a great ambassador for the Grizzlies. And it had been a while since he had been in Memphis and been connected with the city, but you could just tell he loves it and it's his home, and it just gets all the juices flowing just to have Marc Gasol back in Memphis, and just watching all the highlights again of him and all the highlights of him and in the playoff runs, and just his passion and energy and everything he brought for the city. It's just, he embodies what it means to be a Grizzlies player, and him talking about the playoff atmospheres, and it makes me excited for what I know that this core group that we have now can do. And I know it's in there. We had flashes of it against the Timberwolves, but we really haven't experienced a playoff run with this team yet. And so it's just cool to be able to reflect back. And I think it's good for this version of the Grizzlies to see something like that and see how much our fans care about Marc Gasol still, and how much he's a legend in the city because of the contributions him and the core four had to this team. And so I think I don't know if you saw the Ja post the other day on Instagram, where they posted a picture of Ja, Bane, and Dez, a still shot of them during one of the games, next to each other. And the caption was "This is all we think about," and it's them chasing a championship. And so I think that was a cool timing for this Marc Gasol thing to happen, because I think it just motivates this current team they crave that, and they want to have the city right for them in the playoffs and experience what a Grizzlies playoff atmosphere is. And so I don't know, man, I just love Marc Gasol. I love all of the core four, but it's just Marc is it's something different with him. He's just he's such a figure in the city, and just something about his aura and his presence is just, you can't match his passion for the team. And so the documentary was awesome. I thought the ceremony at the arena was awesome, and him going on all the different podcasts and things. And you just sometimes you have guys that contribute to your team, and they love the team, but they don't really show it that well after the fact, or maybe they show up once in a while. But you can just tell with Marc Gasol, he's so genuine, and you know that how much the city means to him. And so it was just awesome to be able to relive all that with him.
Yeah, I agree. It was awesome. I wish I could have been there to go to the game. But watching the documentary, you see all the old playoff series, old games, and it's it gives you goosebumps. Just thinking back on all the great Grizzlies memories we've had. I know we've never won a championship, but it's still man, those were some great runs. I don't know. It's it's really like makes you really happy and also like sad. Oh man, it's over. But now we have a new like GNG, Grizz Next Gen. So and it was also, I thought it was great, like kind of like show a side of Mark I didn't really know existed. Like I don't know, he one time I met him, like he came to Dogwood for jump rope for Heart, and he just like he was like him and like Quincy Pondexter or something, I think, and they just came and gave everyone jerseys. That was kind of cool. Like I was like really little, so he's like this huge guy. I don't know. So like he just seems so nice, and then like you see the documentary, he's actually like such an intense person for basketball, and he just like loves winning so much. So it was really awesome. And like of course 100% deserving of the no one ever getting to wear 33 in Memphis again. So
yeah, for sure. I thought it was just so cool, man. It was so hard to not be able to be back home for that jersey retirement night. More than anything, I wanted to be able to just pack up and drive home to Memphis and just be there for that game when we got blown out by the Sixers. But you know what? Everybody in that arena stayed. They weren't even really there for the game. They were there to cheer on Mark and the rest of the core four. It's so cool that Conley was able to show up because I know he was like had a game the next day or something, and that was really cool that he got to fly in. But yeah, I mean, man, that core four, that grit and grind team, I mean, that's like what sparked my like just passion for sports. Really, I mean, like really, I started watching basketball. I didn't grow up in like nobody in my family watched basketball or like even sports, and then like this Memphis Grizzlies team was like got me into basketball, and I was like, and they play in my like home city too. This is just insane. And yeah, so many memories. I think like the biggest like basketball one was I think like all of us were hanging out at like Huey's and saw that like game winner against the Spurs.
Yeah.
That one comes to mind. The Gasol, his heave, good. Like that one that was a really cool moment. But yeah, it's yeah, like all you guys are saying, just his passion, his love for the city, truly makes you proud to be a Memphian. Like that guy, he's from the same city I'm from. Like that feels good. So
Memphis made.
Yeah, for sure. So, yeah, I remember I saw him at Southwind Country Club one time, and it was like after I want to say Serge Ibaka like stepped on his foot. Anyway, he like had recently broken his foot, and so his cast, like when he stood up, and we like of course asked to like go grab a picture from him, and he was just like sitting with his family, but he's so nice, and he was just like, oh yeah, of course, like here. Like took a moment away on like hindsight. I mean, we were just kids, but we were like, please like take a picture with us, and just like taking away this moment with like his family. But he was like more than happy to like just take a second and take a picture with us. And like his boot, his cast was like as big as my little brother Sam at the time. So, but yeah, it was. He's just such a genuine guy, and like you guys said. Of course, no one else should be able to wear number 33 in a Grizzlies uniform. So I thought very well done by the franchise and what they did. So that was cool. All right. Well, that's all the points that I had. Anything else that you guys wanted to add as we put a bow on the 2023-2024 Grizzly season?
No, just I'll reiterate, like I said, I think a lot of people are quick to forget what this team is. And I know how good we could be if we're all healthy. And so, like I said, we're in a unique situation to get better this offseason with being in this lottery-ish position and potentially adding a center via the draft or trade or free agency. And I'm just excited to get everyone back on the court together and just shut a lot of people up, because this year was nothing more than negative publicity about the Grizzlies, and that's all you heard about was, oh, Ja and whatever, they're frauds or whatever, they're too young and they just chirp and they're reckless or whatever. Like, it was just too much. And I'm just excited to turn the page on this season and start fresh next year and come for blood.
Yeah, I agree. Really looking forward to next season. Got so much potential. Hopefully the fans are going to be excited. It's the most anticipated Axe Cast potentially ever. So, we got a good treat for them in store. So
yeah, for sure. Yeah, I'd echo all the things that you guys said. People have forgotten about the Grizzlies. They've forgotten about Ja Morant. They've completely, whenever people bring up best young cores in the NBA or best players under 25, Ja Morant is no longer in those lists. And as far as young cores, either we're not young anymore or they've just completely forgotten about us. So I think that's motivated the rest of the group. I don't know if they see that or pay attention to that, but people have definitely forgotten about it. And I'm so pumped to see us just prove them wrong next season. And yeah, I'll be waiting around until October for the season to start again. So cool.
For sure.
All right. Well, this has been the Axe Cast. Thank you guys for joining us. I'll be signing off. This is Caleb with Eric and Luke. We'll see you guys later.